Notice, I might butcher these names, especially the authors and artists, so I apologize about that in advance. The list is mostly based on my opinion and for what I have concluded was unique, so it's up to you if you read it. And I'll be mentioning little things about the series, but not major spoilers. Now on with the video. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. For today's video, I'll be recommending 10 manhwa series with unique villainous plots. You know, the usual setting with the FL that is a villainess, but with a unique overall story. Now let's get started. The first series I'll be mentioning is I Failed to Oust the Villain, or I Failed to Abandon the Villain. Summary. Reborn as the daughter of a count she read about in a novel, Lady Valletta knows the story ends in a tragedy at the hands of her lowly house pet, Reinhardt. Having never wanted him in the first place, Valletta tries but fails to oust him from her house. But when Reinhardt's powerful magic is awakened one day, he kills all those around her, and it is now Valletta who is at his mercy. Though the tables have turned, Reinhardt can't shake his attachment for Valletta. He lets her live, but only with his grasp. There are currently about 74 chapters of the official translation and is currently on season 2 end. Its genres are josei, drama, fantasy, historical, isekai, magic, psychological, royal family, and reincarnation. This series is pretty unique even though it has the villainous setting because it doesn't show much about the FL's past life and mostly focuses on her current one. It is true that there are mentions of the FL of looking back at the plots of the novel, however, there are barely mentions of the FL's past life. The story is pretty psychological since, even though the FL has memories of her past life, she was still affected by her father's abuse and treatment, as well as the trauma of getting her animals that she cared for killed by her father. Licensed by Tapas, it has received an adaptation on the year 2022. Original story by Asam and Ya Eun-hyang, then illustrated by Seung-yun, and is currently on hiatus. My Failing Divorce, or I Failed to Divorce My Husband. Summary. Ellen's plan is simple. Before turning into an obsessive villain who gets executed, she's going to get a divorce. But after she becomes Ellen Leanster, her plan gets complicated. Her new husband, Aiden, has developed a debilitating fear of being touched, and Ellen is determined to discover the cause and cure. As she finds ways to help him, an affection-deprived Aiden slowly begins to seek comfort from Ellen. With both hearts opening up to each other, can this marriage succeed at failing? There are currently about 48 chapters of the official translation and is currently on season 1 end. Its genres are comedy, fantasy, isekai, romance, transmigration, historical, and reincarnation. The FL is like other FLs that are isekai as a villainess. She wants to avoid her tragic fate, but even when the ML avoids the FL at first, she continues to persist and help him, which over time made him fall for her. Same with the FL, over time she fell in love with the ML, but believed that even if Aiden is like that to her, he would still fall for the OG FL in the future. The FL is smart and pretty good with her actions. I believe that Ellen, the FL, has a good conscience, while Aiden, the ML, due to his trauma, hates being touched by people, but because of Ellen, his fear was lessened and is now only uncomfortable if he's touched by others besides Ellen. Original story by Yuji and Joel, illustrated by JSMK, adapted in the year 2022, licensed by Tapas, and is currently on hiatus. The Villainess is a Marionette. Summary. I woke up as Kayana Hill, the novel's villainess, praised as the greatest beauty in the Empire. Who knew that her story would catch my attention because I was her in my past life? Destined for terrible ends, I've died twice, but I refuse to die a third time as a pawn in someone else's scheme. I'm no longer the vain and naive princess. Now that I know how the story will unfold, I'll turn the tables around and have everyone dancing around to my tune. This time, I'll be the one pulling the strings. As of now, there are 80 chapters since it's a season 2 end. The genres are drama, fantasy, historical, isekai, magic, reincarnation, romance, time travel, and villainess. This series is one of my favorites as it is a great story. Maybe it's because I understand some of the actions of the female lead, but not only that, I love the FL because she learned from her past experiences. She feels both parts of herself and know exactly what she wants to do. Original story by Hanirim, then illustrated by Mango. Released on the year 2021, licensed by Tapas, and is currently on hiatus. Beware the Villainess, or Beware of the Villainess. Summary. Sit back and take in this romantic tale of an angelic heroine and her devoted suitors as they vie for the depths of her love. Or not. This story is about to go through some edits. After an accident, a modern-day college student awakens as the story's villainess, Melissa Fodebrat. She is far from anyone's favorite, but she is the daughter of the Duke. Determined to live it up, this new Melissa is doing things her way. Antiquated society, be damned. All idiots, prepare to step aside or perish. Okay, so this series has already ended on 2022. It consists with 92 chapters with 36 side episodes. The genres are comedy, drama, fantasy, isekai, romance, villainess, and reincarnation. This series is one of my favorites. Not only was it one of the first manhwas that I've read, it keeps me wanting to come back for more. Not only was it funny, it also showcases on what she truly wants as well as protect the people that she loves. I'm sure I've made a video on this before, so you guys can check it out if you want my personal summary of it since it's only a YouTube short. Original story by Berry and Soda Ice, then illustrated by Blue Kana. Adapted on the year 2020 until 2022, licensed by Tapas, and is now completed. To a happy ending for the tragic novel, or for the happy ending of the tragic novel. Summary. When Raeliana Evanhader opens her eyes as the villainess of the tragic novel, The Miracle of the Dawn, she knows she has to do something if she wants to live. She must find a way to escape her evil adoptive father's grasp while also helping the melees one by one so that they don't take drastic measures to claim the female lead. Will Raeliana be able to find a way to change the narrative so that everyone finds their happily ever after? Currently, there are about 44 chapters. The genres are fantasy, isekai, magic, reincarnation, reverse harem, and romance. Honestly, at first, I was kinda skeptical and thought that this series was the bad ending of an anime game, or was somewhat similar to the series since the cover looked similar, but I was wrong. I've read the bad ending of an otome game before, so I knew the early part of the storyline and got a bit discouraged of reading this series since I thought that it might have a similar plot as the bad ending of an otome game. But when I read this series, it has a different plot because the series' heroine intervenes with the original storyline while the FL of the bad ending of an otome game went away and lived a normal and independent life after some events happened. Overall, it's a really okay series, though some readers have some comments about the FL's hair. Original story and illustrated by Ho, adapted on the year 2023, licensed by Tapitoon and hasn't been completed yet as of now. Villains are destined to die, or death is the only ending for the villains. Summary. This game's got me obsessed. It's like it's taken over my life. Wait. Hard mode activated. No! It has literally taken me and thrown me into the part of Penelope Eckhart. Love is easy as the heroine, but as the hated villainess, I'm trying very hard not to die. At the hands of my brothers, the friends, a fork, every possible ending is death. This world is stacked against me, but can my wits and insider game knowledge score the affection of these male characters, or the reset button? As of now, there are currently about 130 chapters in the official translation, and is at its 4th season. The genres are drama, fantasy, isekai, magic, reincarnation, romance, video games, and villainess. Actually, this was one of the manhwas that I was skeptical to read, because I wasn't really appealed by the cover. But after reading it out of boredom, I was hooked in it. Though there were some chapters that made me a bit discouraged, the story overall is pretty good and one of the unique villainous stories because even when the FL knew that she got transported in the otome game, she never planned on going back to the real world, and is only trying to leave the household after her coming of age ceremony, so it's kinda dark. Original story by Guan Guiul, then illustrated by Suul. Adapted on the year 2020, licensed by Tapas, and it's currently ongoing. The reason why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's mansion, or why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's mansion. Summary from Tapitoon. Poisoned to death by her own betrothed? Iyunha didn't wake up in a novel story just to get killed off again as an unfortunate extra. To change her story, she needs a cover. 6 months pretending to be the fake fiancé of the novel's male protagonist, Duke Noah Wainwright. But will this cold-hearted, angel-faced demon of a man really help her avoid another ill-fated ending? Now, this series has already been completed with 158 chapters. The genres are comedy, fantasy, mystery, romance, historical, isekai, reincarnation, romance, royal family, royalty, and transmigration. At first, I've seen this series on my For You page tons of times, but I didn't really pay much attention to it since I thought that it was a cliche story, that maybe for some typical trivial or coincidental reason, she ended up there. But reading why or how she ended there, especially on her current body, I got a little interested and read it. Overall, it's a good story, but I didn't expect that it would get an anime adaptation. Original story by Milcha and then illustrated by Whale. Adapted on the year 2017, then ended on 2021, licensed by Tapas and Tapitoon, and is now completed. Beloved by the male lead's nephew, or The Male Lead's Nephew Loves Me So Much. Summary. After being reborn as a stalker villainess destined to die for trying to kill Archduke Calix Eloiden's lover, Charlize Lienta fled from the capital to stay away from the Archduke at all costs. But her plan goes awry when she returns a year later and rescues a poor boy on the streets because he turns out to be Sasha, Calix's long-lost nephew. Given her infamous reputation as Calix's stalker, will Charlie succeed in returning Sasha without raising the Archduke's suspicions? Currently, there are about 35 chapters. The genres are drama, fantasy, romance, historical, isekai, reincarnation, and royalty. I honestly thought that it was a typical story, so I just read it for fun since the title and cover drew me in. But after I actually read the story, it wasn't a typical villainous story. Because even though the FL apologized and left, she had found the male lead's nephew, but going forward, it became a little different. So, it's actually a pretty good story. Original story by Soy Media, then illustrated by D. Rano, adapted on the year 2023, licensed by Tapas, and is currently ongoing. A beloved bashful villainess, or the villainess is shy in receiving affection. Summary. When Melody discovers she's a villainess in someone else's story, being a slave dealer's daughter only adds to her guilty conscience. After her mother kidnaps Loretta, Duke Baldwin's long-lost child, Melody tries to comfort the scared little girl and forms a sisterly bond with her. So when the Duke finds them, he takes both of them home because now they're inseparable. As the rest of House Baldwin becomes enamored with Melody's warm heart, will she ever learn that she deserves to be loved too? Right now, there are currently about 40 chapters in the official translation. The genres are childhood friends, drama, fantasy, historical, isekai, kids, reincarnation, romance, and villainess. When I read the first chapter, it somehow reminded me of another manhwa, which is The Villainess Flips the Script. Yet, the story is still different from the other series because this one focuses on children and Melody did not have anyone to ask help from since her mother neglected her and never cared for her. Original story by Ryu Hyun and Gyunga, then illustrated by Chira. Adapted on the year 2023, licensed by Tapas, and hasn't been completed yet as of now. And the last manhwa that I'll be mentioning is The Villainess Flips the Script, or It's Time to Change the Genre. Summary. I woke up inside my favorite novel, not as the protagonist Luca Winterwald, but as Judith, his abusive aunt and the first character to die. Time for a rewrite. I'll head Luca off to his loving long-lost uncle as scripted, and then live my own life far from danger. At least that was the plan. When his uncle arrives, Luca suddenly calls out, "Don't leave!" Now, I must protect Luca from impending family tragedy, raise him to become the hero, and turn this villainess's ending upside down. There are currently about 78 chapters since it's a season 2 end. The genres are comedy, fantasy, historical, isekai, reincarnation, romance, time travel, and villainess. At first, I was skeptical on reading this series because of the things that I assumed based on the title and cover, since at that time I was still new to reading manhwas. But since it kept appearing in my For You page, so I decided to give it a shot if I liked it. Out of curiosity, of course. It isn't really a typical story because even though at the start the FL planned on letting things flow as how it did in the original story without getting involved, but of course the opposite happened, but still, it has unique plot twists. Original story by Garin, then illustrated by Ken. Adapted on the year 2021, licensed by Tapas, and is currently on hiatus due to a season end. And with that, those are the series that are villainous manhwas but with unique plots. I'm sure that most of those series are well known or read by most shoujo fantasy lovers. So if you guys want a part 2 mentioning other series, just comment down below for a part 2 or have this video reach 200 likes. As always, thank you guys for watching. And I know this is a late introduction, but I'm Tsukio and I make content related to manhwa, and in the future, I'll be doing commentary, covers, game, and anime stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.